Howdy y'all, the Bearded Carpenter here. We're going to take a little detour in our videos. I had told you on our last video that we would be discussing plans for your cabin, but I've got a little project I want to share with you. I'm standing by a little 8x8 log building that I built 3 or 4 years ago, and we're going to move this and set it up and use it as a smokehouse. And if you see me standing here, it makes it look like I'm really tall. I'm not very tall, but I'm going to raise this 16 inches and put it on a foundation, and we're going to show you where we're going to put it. And we had to do some clearing out and getting it prepped. We have the batter boards up, the strings up, squared up and ready to go to dig the footing. But I want you to just enjoy this. Now, when we start to move this, we're going to video what I've kind of envisioned in my mind as far as jacking this thing up and putting it on some wheels to where we can move it. Since it is 8 foot wide, I can't really load it on my trailer because it's not that wide. So I'm going to turn this cabin into a trailer and pull it with the tractor, hopefully, and set it up on the foundation that I'll have built. So y'all come along, and if you feel free, if you want to, just come in there and give me a little hand digging the footing. I told you that I couldn't wait to get an axe in my hand. Well, I got an axe in my hand, so let's go. All right, this is where we're going to put the smokehouse. We had to come out here and clear out an area here, but I wanted to explain just a little bit of what I did. After we kind of raked some stuff back and cut briars and moved rocks, I drove 4 stakes in the ground, just temporary stakes for where the corners would be, and pulled a diagonal on them, just a temporary. It wasn't totally accurate. And then I put in my stakes to hold the batter boards, which these are the batter boards. Now you can see this stake twisted on me because we're in some pretty rocky ground here. And I used this as my benchmark. We started at this particular stake right here, and then we went to the other 3 corners. And we used a water level. It's just a clear plastic hose. I think it's 9/16 in diameter. And I just filled it full of water, made sure all the bubbles was out, and you can see bubbles coming up there maybe. And I put 2 bolts in it just to hold it so that I can move it around without spilling all the water. And then using a water level, for me it takes 2 people. And I'll pop these bolts out. And water is going to seek its own level. You can see there is it it'll fluctuate back and forth, and then it'll settle down, and it'll be the same in either tube. And as I raise one, you'll see it go down, and it'll bounce back and forth, but it pretty quickly it will level itself back out. And so what we did, we held one hose at this point right here, and I just went to the corner stakes, which was this one, and just had to mark it 3 times. And then I put my batter boards up. since I had temporary stakes in the ground, just to kind of give me an idea of where the corners would be, I pulled two strings, or put two strings up here, and then I measured back this way 8 feet, which is the width of the building. It's an 8 by 8, and I put them on the batter boards, and then I put this string and this string up and kind of got it adjusted, and then I pulled what we call a 6, 8, 10. We measured out from this corner 6 feet on this string, and I made a tiny mark on the string. And since this is 8 feet, you measure from that mark you have on your string down here 8 feet. It should measure 10 feet. And if you have 10 feet there, then you have it squared. But I also do that in a building that's 8 feet square, when you pull a diagonal from that corner to this corner, it should measure 11 feet 3 3/4 of an inch. And if your strings are exactly parallel with each other, and you pull a diagonal from corner to corner, and it measures the same, and you've got your building squared. There's one thing I wanted to point out. When I put these stakes in the ground, I kept them back far enough from where I knew that the footing would be when I started digging the footing, that when I started digging this dirt out, that the bank wouldn't cave off and I'd lose this stake. So it's far enough back that the ground will hold it. And we'll get this all dug out, and we'll start putting steel rebar in the footing, and we'll pour the footing, and then I'm going to lay concrete blocks. There'll be 2 rows or 2 courses of concrete blocks. We'll bring from this point, we'll bring it up 16 inches, and the logs, seal logs of the little building will sit on top of that, and it'll make it actually taller to where I can walk in the door. I want to give you a tip on how to hold the tape when you're doing a layout. If you hear somebody say cut a foot, that means that they're holding the tape on 12 inches, and my hands are shaking just a little bit there. But you try to hold it exactly on 12 inches, and you can go from that over to whatever length that you're trying to go for, and it's more accurate than trying to hold your tape here, because a lot of times the ends of tapes will get worn, and they're designed to move back and forth just a little bit, but after a while, if you don't have a fairly new tape, that'll get worn and it will not be totally accurate. So if you can hold it on 12 inches, that's called cutting the foot. And when you're doing your diagonals, you're pulling from corner to corner, it's so much easier to hold that on 12 inches and add 12 inches or a foot to the measurement that you're looking for. Okay, I'm getting ready to mark off the footing, and what I've done, I have measured over 2 inches from the outside perimeter of the building. And I took my level from that point down to the ground, and I took one of the stakes, the temporary stakes that was just at the 4 corners, and drove it in the ground on the back side of where I'm actually going to dig. And I did that same thing on either end, and I'm coming 2 inches out. I'm going to dig a 12-inch footing. I'll put an 8-inch stretcher block, concrete stretcher block, in the center of the footing. But I got some lime, and I'm just going to mark on the ground with the lime. Where I'll actually dig. Put a string down there so that I can kind of mark it straight. Now I know this is kind of a wide mark, but I'll be able to tell where my footing will be and where to actually dig. And I'll be digging this by hand. Now if you have a backhoe coming in to dig your footing, and you have your lines out of lime on the ground. The side that you want the footing to actually be on from your line, I've always come back and made an X so that the backhoe operator knows which side of the line to dig on. And he'll have a bucket on his backhoe that will be the width of the footing that we want. And I'll do this all the way around, all four sides, and I'm not going to have a backhoe. I'm going to have to do it with a pick and a shovel. If you want to come help me, I will not turn you down. I'll give you plenty of ice water. Might even cook some for you. We're back over here at this little cabin. I wanted to share with you a little bit about it. I cut these logs all on this place here, pulled them out with a tractor, and milled everything out with an Alaskan mill, which I'll do some videos on using an Alaskan mill the way I use it. There's many videos on YouTube where you can learn about using an Alaskan mill, but I'll show you my system that works well for me. And I cut all these logs out, notched them, hewed them, and just set it up here actually temporarily. Of course, we had other plans with it. We didn't intend for this just to sit here like it has. So we're going to use it for ourselves and turn it into a smokehouse. And these are post oak logs, and I picked all the trees and cut them and brought them down here and worked everything out. And you can look at the logs and you can see that they've seasoned out. They've got checks in them, which really doesn't hurt. They've turned gray. And I think this is going to be a cute little smokehouse. I wanted to show y'all something. See those holes in the ground right there? I had all of the batter boards, the stakes in the ground, the batter boards ready to go. If you can see right in here, you wouldn't have to do anything except set it up here. But the lady bearded carpenter decided that we were going to put it over here. And that's where it's going to be. Because she said if I put it here where I originally wanted to put it, without any work except digging the footing and pouring the footing, she said it looked like it was just stuck out here. And she didn't want it to look just stuck out here. So to keep peace, I did what she said, and I pulled all the stakes up and we moved it over here. Now, actually, it is a better location there. Even though we had to do a lot of clearing out, cleaning up, raking, and getting it ready just so we could put stakes in the ground. It'll be a better location, and I am close to the wood pile, to where I can get wood to put in the smoker.